Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond the Box Score. This is, what's today's date? It is Monday, February 26th. Yep. Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score. I am your co-host, Max.
What's going on, guys? My name is Sean. We got a lot to get to today. It's going to be a good show.
Hey, how's it going, Max? I'm Oscar, as always, here.
Welcome back, guys. You had a good show last week, didn't you?
Yeah, talked about a lot of stuff.
Did some Super Bowl recap.
Super Bowl, some NBA, wrestling, and soccer, yep.
Wrestling, soccer.
It's good.
All right. Today, we got a good show for you guys. We're going to be talking some NBA with the All-Star break now in the rearview window. We're kind of getting into that second half of the season. Not too much went down. I believe the deadline was 2 weeks ago. Not too much went down.
Yeah.
A couple teams made some nice trades. We're going to talk about the Knicks a little bit more in depth in a minute. The Mavericks made some nice moves, but nothing, kind of thought the Hawks would do something, but nothing too out of the ordinary.
I thought the Lakers were going to try to get like some sort of star player. They did nothing. It was kind of like there was stuff going on, but other than like the Knicks moves, which we'll get to, there was nothing other than that really felt like something that would change a team.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk some Knicks. The Knicks were great in February, 14-2 record.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was going very, very swell. It really looked like that trade for OG. It was kind of a win-win trade. Toronto got a nice bench scorer in Emmanuel Quickly, and OG was just it was just the missing piece to a puzzle. It felt like he was able to guard the other team's best offensive player, but then the injuries started to strike the Knicks a little bit. We had Randall going down first with the separated shoulder. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, it was a separated shoulder. Yep.
And then OG after, I believe he's got is it a thumb or is it? What is it? I believe it's a hand injury of some kind.
Some sort of hand injury. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after that, we started to see the Knicks kind of struggle a little bit. They tread water from most of February, but I think that All-Star break was really needed for them because they had a bit of like a 4 or 5 game slip, and it wasn't pretty basketball. They were really relying on Brunson to do all of the heavy lifting.
Everything, with them kind of hoping that Dante DiVincenzo would come along, which he has in a big way, but this Knicks offense without Randall and OG is kind of like limited to it all falling on what Brunson can do for them game to game.
So a newbie is out with, he is on schedule, according to Hoops Hype, he is on schedule to return from elbow surgery. That was his injury.
Right.
Which is a little bit more serious than just like kind of hurting your hand a little bit.
Yeah.
But it says he hasn't experienced any setbacks, so he should be back before too long.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Brunson's 27.6 points per game, 6.6 assists per game. The Knicks, like their stats across the board are pretty decent. Like I feel like they've been able to weather these injuries a little bit, especially with like what Sean just said with DiVincenzo playing a lot better, Hartenstein kind of filling that role. At the center position, he's been doing a pretty great job, and you know what? When they were going on that stretch in January, that 14-2 stretch, I felt like the Knicks hype was kind of starting to peak. You know what I mean? I feel like there was a good moment there where it felt like they were the second best team in the East.
It felt like for a moment that they were the best team in the East, but it's also...
You think they were better than the Celtics there for a little bit?
For a little bit, yeah, for a little that stretch of games where they won, 7-8 straight, and then all the injuries came back to bite them, and now the Celtics have won 8 straight. So it's kind of like the Knicks right now, coming back fully healthy, I think do have the best chance to beat the Celtics because I also don't trust the Bucks long term, given who their coach is and just the way that team is built. But that could just be me. I don't really buy into the Bucks, even though they had a really nice weekend of 2 games.
The coach doesn't make you question the Knicks a little bit?
Yeah, but Tibbs does it in a way that works for the team. I know the rep on Tibbs is that he kind of plays his player into the ground, but I feel like as the season goes along,
The Knicks are 4th in the East right now, behind the Bucks. 11 games back behind the Celtics. It feels like the Celtics have kind of secured that first spot.
Yeah.
So it's honestly just going to go down to health at this point, because I feel like the Cavs have been streaking. They've been playing really great basketball these past couple months. The Bucks have had their struggles, but they have a great roster, so they're going to finish in those top in those top seeds.
I do think the Bucks get that second seed.
You think so?
I think they get it over the Cavs. Yeah, because only a game out. I think the Bucks are going to secure that.
That's a good point, because I mean, I guess you can make the case that like the Bucks have been, having a really, by their standards and what they wanted, they're having a really tough season, and they're only one game behind the Cavs. And the Cavs are like, everyone's kind of hyping them up, not as title contenders, but they're giving them a lot of praises, and like I said, only one game in front of Milwaukee. So I agree with you, Sean.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like the Cavs are really good, but what I feel like people are hesitant on them with is what happened last postseason, where the Knicks completely ate them alive.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like people are hesitant to buy into the Cavs just because of that. Now, whether that's fair or unfair is, depends, but I just feel like with that Cavs team, like, they're good, but they're not good enough to compete with, like, the Celtics, really. Or, honestly, even if the Bucks get going, I don't think they could beat the Bucks in the series. But we'll see. It's all – I think they'll get top 3, though.
Okay. I'm going to make my prediction. I think the Knicks are going to finish 3rd. I think the Bucks are going to continue to slip down a little bit. The 76ers, with the injury to Embiid, are going to fall a little bit. I think my top 4 is probably going to be Celtics. I'm going to go Cavs, Knicks, Bucks.
Oh, so you think the Bucks for the 4th?
I think so.
Okay, interesting. I'll say they get 2nd, and Knicks I think stay in 4th, but Cavs get 3rd.
Because this playoff seeding is going to be huge, first of all, because you don't want to play. There are teams that you really do not want to play until you absolutely have to. Like if the Knicks,
Boston.
Yeah, if the Knicks can hold off until playing, they're going to probably have to get the 2nd seed or something to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, they would have to at least get the 3rd, because if you're 4th, 5th, even if they win that 4 or 5 matchup, the Celtics are still in 1st.
Yeah.
Which you all think they will be. They'd still have to play the Celtics the 2nd round.
Yeah, I'd want to play the Celtics in the conference finals.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't, want to play Miami extremely early.
No, which the Celtics might have to, honestly, given how Miami just doesn't care about the regular season.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes.
We will. Knicks with 118. They're 6th in offensive rating, 10th in defensive rating, 6th in net rating. It's going to come down to health with them, but I definitely see if guys like DiVincenzo, Josh Hart plays extremely well. I really love the acquisitions that they made at the deadline with Bogdanovich. We're going to see, because I feel like what do you guys think the ceiling for this Knicks team is? Do you think it is Eastern Conference Finals, or do you think it's NBA Finals?
I think it's Eastern Conference Finals. At the end of the day, I look at the East like this: it's the Celtics and the rest. And look, there's been a conversation over the past weekend that at fully healthy, the Knicks could beat the Celtics, and I don't believe so, because the Celtics are just too good. They're a good team without Porzingis, and they're a great team with him. Obviously, their championship window is all dependent on Porzingis' health, but yeah, I do think that no one in the East, as of right now, obviously everything could change, no one in the East could beat the Celtics in the series.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sean, 110%. I think that if any team in the East, I don't know, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not impossible that the Bucks kind of get it together and turn themselves into contenders for the Celtics. But I think if any other team beats the Celtics, it will be It will be because the Celtics lost the series, not because the other team was so good.
Right, it's because the Celtics beat themselves or injury, whatever could come up. Yeah.
All right, so let's take a trip across the bridge and talk about the Nets a little bit. 21-35, 11th in the East right now. It's been a struggle for this team all season long, and it is. I feel like their issues have been amplified ever since that decision from Jacques Vaughn to rest their guys. I forget who they were playing. Yeah, it was
the
against
Bucks.
The Bucks.
They just kind of tossed the game. That was the late December.
And to me, that's kind of it felt like after that game, it lost the magic that this team kind of had because on paper it's a decent roster. They should be they have enough talent, in my opinion, to make the play-in for sure. But after that, it felt like they really did not see themselves even having a shot this year.
Firing Jacques Vaughn was a telling sign of where they think they're going to go this year, and I don't think they'll even get a play-in spot because they're, I believe, 2.5 games behind Atlanta.
Yeah,
or maybe 2, but yeah, I don't think they get that last play-in spot.
So last week the Nets. Sorry, I'm just gonna
3.5 games back.
3.5 okay.
Behind Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay.
PU.
So yeah, just like what Sean said, last week the Nets fired Coach Jacques Vaughn and hired their interim head coach Kevin Ollie, who's an assistant for them. First of all, do you guys think? I mean, take the game that they played against the Raptors out of it. Do you think this was the right move by the Nets?
No.
No.
And you don't fire when you're a rebuilding team, right? It's kind of a bad look to just fire a coach in the middle season. I don't think he was the right coach for this team. I think they could have just waited out to the end of the year because it wouldn't have mattered. I don't really see anything that Kevin Ollie could do to make this team better than they were under Jacques Vaughn.
Okay. So you're also against the Bucks firing Adrian Griffin then?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was at first also against them firing Mike Budenholzer, but that's coming on. See, because you know what it is with this Nets team? It's a lot of good complementary pieces for a championship team, but not a star player. I like McCall Bridges, very good player. There's a reason why he was a third option in Phoenix. Nothing against him, but he's not that star that you could put the ball in the hands of. You could put the ball in his hands at the end of the game and him win it for you.
I agree.
21
points per game.
Yeah.
He does seem like he would be a great piece on a championship team. We saw what he did in Phoenix when they made that finals run. But I agree with you. I can't see him as a first option on a championship team and maybe not even a second.
Maybe a second option, but probably, honestly, a third.
A third,
yeah. Yeah, and honestly, you know what also is not another good look? He went on Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart have their roommates podcast that they do now, and they brought McCall Bridges as a guest onto the show, and they obviously have the Villanova connection, and they're talking about that game that the Knicks played in Barclays and how many Knicks fans there were, and they were kind of openly crapping on the Nets in front of McCall Bridges, and McCall Bridges just kind of agreed with them. Didn't even say anything.
You can't deny it.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he was like, yeah.
It felt like a Knicks home game.
And then in my head, I'm like, wow. Honestly, do you think McCall Bridges kind of wants to be on the Knicks?
I mean, yeah, of course he does. He's got all of his college teammates there. I'm sure they tease him about it all the time.
With Bridges, I don't think the Nets are the long-term home for him.
I mean, what are the Nets long-term for anything? I just thinking. I don't know. Sorry, do you guys have things? But this is my take on it. This is just a deeply unserious franchise with a terrible owner who's never done anything right. And yeah, look, when they moved to Brooklyn, they had so much hype. Everyone was so excited, or lots of people were really excited because they're like, hey, nice new stadium. Let's go. Nice new jerseys. Let's see what's happening here. Let's see if we can actually have a good basketball team in the 5 boroughs for once in our lifetime. And they just spent so much time. This franchise has spent so much time trying to do get-rich-quick schemes to get a bunch of old, aging players, and I don't know. Say what you will. In a different world, maybe the KD Kyrie thing works out. I don't think it does because Kyrie just causes chaos wherever he goes. For better, no matter. I think he's one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. The guy's a mess. He creates problems everywhere. He won't stay off Facebook. And it's just what's the plan here, guys? What's the plan? Look at 2 other teams in your conference, or not even in the conference, in the division. Look at the Knicks. Look at the Celtics. What if how we living in a world where we're hey, look at how the Knicks are building a team, and we're when have we ever thought we'd ever say be like the Knicks? Never, and because they were hey, let's bring in a coach who we trust with a coherent play style that we can build around. Let's build a DNA for this team for the next 5 years or so, and let's recruit the players the right way. Let's draft smart. Let's make good signings. Let's not overextend ourselves. And now they have a competitive basketball team. Same thing with the Celtics. It's we have a philosophy. We have a certain type of player we like to bring in, and we identify the players we want, and we draft them. The Nets, if there's no plan here, what's the plan?
The Nets don't have an identity. Like,
Yeah.
I've been to plenty. It's much more cheaper to go to Nets games than it is to go to Madison
Yeah.
Square Garden.
Absolutely.
So I've been to plenty Nets games
yeah.
over the past,
Me too.
especially couple of years. And it feels like half the fans that go there are just there to see the players, and that includes the visiting team.
Yeah.
So especially like what Sean said in that game against the Knicks. I think in like the final couple of minutes there was like a fast break by them, and the entire crowd was going crazy.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges was getting booed at the free throw line. It was, I mean, it's embarrassing to have that happen to your franchise, but what can you expect? I mean, you're moving your franchise into a city that already has a team.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is a, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that love and appreciate basketball here in Brooklyn.
Right.
I love Brooklyn. I think that it absolutely would deserve a basketball team, but they need to. I don't know if it relies like on the owner, but they need to do something different that actually gives them that identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is there's no fans, man. Build a fan base. And the key way, what they tried to do is they're like, hey, here's Barclays Center. Hey, rich people from Brooklyn Heights and Manhattan and Park Slope and stuff. You want a place to, like, bring people where there's not going to be, where it's not as dirty as the Garden. It's not as loud as those rambunctious Knicks fans. And yeah, that's not how you build a fan base, man. Like, that's how you build a place for people to come have cocktails. And those people don't care. People who like just go to basketball games just to like take pictures and drink and stuff, like, they don't care about basketball. They're not gonna like put their butts in the seats when the team is 21-35. They're not gonna go to the stadium to make noise. They're not gonna wear a jersey. They don't care. And not to say that non-sports fans aren't valid at sports games. Anyone should be able to go. But if you want to build a fan base, here's First things first, Nets tickets, they're not super expensive, but and I can say that I live with my parents and I work, I don't have a lot of bills or expenses. I can afford it, but they're still not cheap. Even when the team has a really bad record, the team, like, the tickets aren't super cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it's New York still.
Yeah.
So there's this one of my favorite current rappers. His name's Vince Staples, and I think he's the most famous Clippers fan on earth. And he said, he's like, the reason I'm a Clippers fan is because I grew up super poor in, like, the Los Angeles area. My family didn't have money to afford tickets to go see the Kobe and Shaq Lakers.
Right.
But the Clippers, they'd give away free tickets to every local school. They'd have giveaways where they'd give you free jerseys, free shirts. So even though they stank, people would go to the stadium. And that's how you build devotion to the team. But there's no desire from Joe Tsai or the Nets to connect to any community in Brooklyn or because I don't know, that's what builds a strong fan base.
Yeah.
know?
And as far as, Sean Marks and the actual organization itself, they lack a direction. I mean, you turn down, there are multiple offers, I think, for Mikal Bridges who you could get for if you could get 5 first-rounders for Rudy Gobert, I think you could get a lot from Mikal. He's not, incredibly young, but like we said, he's a very talented player and clearly much more.
He's an all-star caliber player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His value has increased a lot since the trade to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He's clearly not just like a wing defender,
Right.
a 3-and-D type of guy. He's clearly much more than that. So you could go out if you want to like build around Cam Thomas, a guy that has shown a lot of promise. Nick Claxton, who's still very young. You could do that. You have like we said, they have like a decent ball team, but they really don't have.
Yeah.
They just seem very committed, or just what's the right word? Just they're fine to just settle for this kind of mediocrity.
Right.
Content.
They're
content.
They are in a place where they're not good enough, but there's no plan to get better, because they had that trade offer a few weeks ago that got leaked from the Rockets, which was the Rockets to trade the Nets back all their own picks that they traded for Harden, plus Jalen Green for Mikal Bridges, which honestly I would have done, because you get all your own picks back, plus you get Jalen Green. I know Jalen Green's not the best player in the world, but what are you going to do with Mikal Bridges? Yeah, he's a fine player, but there's no way for them to rebuild with the current assets they have. They have no real assets. They gave them all up. And look, credit to Sean Marks, credit to Joe Tsai. Back in 2019, they went all in on KD, Kyrie. They got Harden. It didn't work out, and the franchise has never been the same again. And the Nets are, and I believe this fully, the Nets are a half size of KD's sneaker smaller from winning an NBA championship. If that KD shot was a three, the Nets would have won the chip.
I mean, there's a lot of ifs.
Yes,
You know,
I
you still
do
have to
think
play.
because they beat the Bucks.
I think they would have beat Atlanta.
Yes,
Phoenix was not like a bad team, you know, so I think that would have been a good
but I
series.
think you guys are still better than Phoenix.
Yeah,
Because you probably would have gotten Kyrie and Harden back somewhat
Mm-hmm.
for that finals matchup. So I just think, look, it's unfortunate. It didn't end. That big three didn't end the way they wanted it to, and they had no real plan to come back out of it rebuilding.
Yeah.
They're just kind of stuck now with this good crop of talent, but no star to carry the team.
It's a lot of ifs, and it's interesting because the Knicks have had their struggles too. Like we've seen a lot of bad basketball from the New York Knicks in this past decade, but it's mainly because they've had a very long rebuild. The Nets, I feel like they had a really successful rebuild in 2019 with some young talented players, but we saw it again with years ago with Paul Pierce in that trade, and so it's kind of like they're content with kind of throwing away their rebuild in hopes that they can go out and buy some superstars and buy a championship, which it hasn't really worked that so far, but they could just go about the same way. Later on, maybe they just do the exact same thing where they go out because I don't know. Earlier, Oscar, you were talking about how you don't really agree. You didn't really agree with that decision to go out and get superstars, but I feel like as a GM, if you have the opportunity to go get KD, to go get Kyrie, to go get Harden, I feel like you'd have to do it.
You do it 100.
I guess my thing, it was more. I guess not really so much the GM. It's more so KD that I would criticize in that case because his whole thing was I don't want to go to the Knicks because they're too chaotic, and then he brought Kyrie with him, who's just he brings the chaos with him, and I don't know. I don't like piling on him as much as like some people do and stuff like that. He's I don't know. He's
Kyrie or
just,
KD?
Kyrie. I mean, he's just kind of a dumb guy. Like it's kind of low hanging fruit to make fun of him, but yeah, I guess, but no, I don't. I wouldn't really say that was like a horrible decision. No, but I do think that it represents a desire to just, like I said, get rich quick. You know, like
they
hey,
want to go out and buy wins.
Let me just hit the lotto, and I guess on one level, look, like you said, you gotta take that deal if you're the GM in that situation. But I just think when you look around this league and you look around the teams that have been really successful these past few years in the NBA, it's not the teams that necessarily go out and make the giant splashes. It's the teams that build good identities and have a strong core of players,
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, because I don't know, you can bring up like how they signed KD, but the Warriors, man, other than KD, all those guys were like
drafted
by
them
man,
and developed by them.
Exactly, it's like they had a plan. And the Nets don't have a plan. And the same thing with obviously the Celtics haven't been as successful yet, but most of their best players, they even though they're in the position where they can convince signings to come to them, but like their best players are drafted, are homegrown guys.
Their duo of Tatum and Brown are drafted by them.
Yep,
and then they had to make the move of trading another guy that they drafted in Marcus Smart for a piece that fit their team in Porzingis. And yes, it's a hard decision, but at the end of the day, it's the right decision to make.
Yeah, and when you draft players and develop them, you can make moves like that, and it works out. What was I going to say?
I think that is the recipe, though.
And just add on, I mean, this is very old news, but how'd the Celtics get Tatum and Brown? The Nets picks, that could be the Nets right now
for KG and Paul Pierce.
Yeah, exactly.
In 2014, but hey, that's obviously old history. I just feel like with the Nets team, when they moved to Brooklyn, they wanted to make the splash. They tried to do it with KG and Paul Pierce. Didn't work out. And then they got the opportunity to get KD and Kyrie. And I know Oscar has his gripes with it, and I completely understand it. But you do it 10 out of 10 times because those are two star players that you want on your team. Right. And it didn't work out. And now they're kind of stuck where it's like, well, crap. What we wanted to do didn't work out. We wanted to go all in for a championship. All those guys are gone now. Now we got to completely rebuild with what we have.
Right, but then you're just back to square one. I feel like the recipe of success in the NBA now is you draft your superstars. It's going to take a while. You saw it with the Nuggets. Like they They got Jokic and Murray, and they've kind of built them up to being the superstars that they are. And then they go out, they get some nice pieces around them. Jeff Green, Bruce Brown. They drafted Gordon, right? Or no, not Gordon. Porter Jr.
Yeah,
Forgetting
they
his
drafted
name.
Kevin Porter Jr. Yep.
Yeah.
When no one wanted to because of his back problems.
Yeah, and then you get Gordon, and so I think you trade for the pieces around the superstars, but you have to draft the superstars. In my opinion, that's kind of how you win in today's league.
Yeah, you have to draft good because those are the guys that are going to be your stars. You have to know how to develop talent and how to build talent. This is why I'll always believe, like, the Lakers are great and all, right? They're a historic franchise, and they get all these big names. They don't know how to build talent.
Lakers?
Yeah, like, Lonzo Ball never really panned out for them. Like, I can't tell you the last guy the Lakers drafted that I was like, wow, he's really good, other than Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is a very nice player for them.
Well, Lakers won in 2020 because I guess that is a bit of a fluke, I guess, to our logic, because they traded for LeBron, they traded for AD.
And what did they do with all those role players that they had on that championship team? They traded them for Russell Westbrook.
And I'll say the only kind of teams that buck the trend we just laid out are the Cavs, and that's because they had maybe the greatest basketball player of all time.
Oh yeah, they were gifted with the number one pick in the best year to have the number one pick.
And you can't like you can't really count on LeBron just falling into your lap if you're the Nets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, this draft class is terrible. This upcoming draft class is god awful.
Yeah. One more minute. Okay, so we're about to go to break, but I'd say, do you want to do maybe who would you keep and who would you trade on this Nets team?
It's so hard to say.
I think you trade everyone but Cam Thomas.
You have to keep Cam Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I keep Claxton too.
You got to sign him.
Yeah, but other than that, Cam Johnson is just another role player. What do you think of Dennis Schroeder, Max?
That was such a weird move by them. Dinwiddie for Schroeder, it was like a nothing burger. I mean, I don't know what you do. I think they, Ben Simmons is the big question for me. Like
all the German tourists are going crazy.
This guy Ben Simmons, who left Saturday's loss against the Timberwolves with leg soreness.
Mm-hmm.
That Ben Simmons, just terrible. Just play, dude.
I mean,
honestly, just play.
No, if you can't play, then and he has health issues, then maybe he should just not play at all.
But he's always going to get clowned. All right, well, we got to go to a 10-minute music break, but stick around, guys. We'll still be talking. That's just for the station.
We're back. Welcome back, guys. So, yeah, what were we saying? We were talking about Ben.
We're talking about Ben Simmons, yep.
Honestly, if his health is so compromised at this point where he's only playing, 20 games a season?
Yeah.
I'd question... I never questioned his want to play basketball.
Yeah.
I feel like he, when he's clearly when he's out there, they are clearly a better team.
Yeah, no one's ever going to say he's not a good player.
Yeah,
it's just the availability issue.
That is the one issue. So, is it too much to say just trade everyone except for Cam Thomas and you start from square one?
Yeah, I'd say even if someone comes in with a good enough offer for Cam Thomas, I'd say get rid of him too.
Really?
I mean, yeah, at this point, man, I'd say no one is untouchable, in my opinion.
Yeah, on this team now.
Because if someone says, hey, I got 2-3 first-round picks for Cam Thomas, I'd say, okay. Yeah.
2-3 first-round picks. Yeah, I mean...
Because it's just... Actually, no, I looked it up. He's still 22, so he could still stick around. But in the case of Bridges, in the case of Johnson, those guys, they're both 27.
Yeah.
And, that's, and not to say that they're, old veterans, but,
it's too old enough that you can't really rebuild.
Yeah, you can't... You got to ask yourself, are these guys going to be part of the next... or the first great Brooklyn Nets... or, team that can win a championship? And I think the answer is no.
This roster does need a complete overhaul. And the only guy that I think of keeping, obviously... things could change is Cam Thomas, but like Oscar said, if the offer's too good, you just got to get rid of him because he's not anything special.
Yeah, so valuing the draft picks above all, I guess, is where we think they're at.
Yeah, and honestly, identifying a good head coach too, because you need a guy who's going to develop those young guys.
Do you think there's a guy out there right now? Mark Jackson.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't pretend to be a expert on like the coaching carousel right now, but I don't know. I like to. I just don't trust this front office to identify talent well enough. You know what I mean? Because I would say maybe go to the college ranks or something, or like find a good assist, like a young guy, you know, who's going to be able to also grow with the young team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I trust this front office to identify the talent of like a young coach who's not super well known. Because that's the thing with this front office. That's why they only sign like veteran all-stars, you know, because they can't identify talent at all. Clearly they can.
You know, I feel like would be good for a rebuild for this team, but it's never going to happen, is Budenholzer. But I just don't really see any realistic chance of that happening.
Well, the Nets are 11th in the East right now. Knicks are 4th. Honestly, I mean, first of all, the West is a lot. We haven't talked about the Western Conference at all yet, but they are a lot more competitive than the East. So I could see,
especially the top half. Yeah.
I mean, the East is a little bit more spread out. So I could see maybe the Nets making the play-in. But would you consider that a success for your season to just slip into the play-in and then probably lose?
For them, I'd rather, if you're just gonna lose in the play-in, which they probably will, I'd rather just not make the play-in. If you don't think you have a real chance of winning one play-in game, don't even try to make it. I think I feel like they're just gonna kind of tank, not a full-blown tank, but.
That's the thing. Like there are so many teams that are like half tanking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't see the point of it. I know the coach just can't come out and be like, okay, we got to lose some games here.
Yeah. You can like openly admit that to like the media. But
it just creates a really bad environment. I mean, also even then, look at the 76ers. Tanking doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah. I mean, they're good, but you know.
Yeah.
No conference finals appearances, but.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like all those years of just, you know, Dookie for, you know, and then
going 10-72, yeah.
Yeah, and then they drafted like 3 centers in a row one year. It's just like, see, like if you don't have a plan, then picks don't really mean that much.
They picked Embiid, then Ben Simmons, which were 2 good picks at the time.
Yeah.
And then
still pretty good, you know. Even in the case of Ben Simmons, his career hasn't panned out like they wanted. But I don't know. I don't think that was a terrible pick. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of the Ben Simmons problem is, you know, I don't want to bully him too much, but I don't know. I kind of disagree with you. I forgot. Maybe it was one of you guys said that, like, he still wants to play basketball, and I don't know if he does, man. I don't know. I think there's maybe, I think, like, maybe in, like, 5 years, he'll do, like, an interview or something. We'll just find out he had something, like, kind of crazy going on in his life or something. Because, I don't know, bro. He just doesn't look like his heart is there. You know what I mean? And, like,
he's gonna play when his contract there.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's when I feel like he's gonna play because he's gonna want that money.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the thing is, man, like he must have missed out on quite a bit of money because you know most professional athletes they have like incentives in their contracts and stuff. Yeah. So I feel like he's probably missed out on a lot of money already. I don't know. I think I don't know if his heart's in it, man. And like I don't know. Look, man, being a professional athlete, we all think it's like all fun and games, but it's a lot of commitment. So. You know, it's not for everyone, I'm sure.
Well, I you know, it's fair to question that, but if it's the injury that's causing the issue, do you think that's fair?
I just like I guess it's also just like there's so many things we don't know about him.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like we're only making assumptions based on what we don't know. There was never like a full disclosure of he was
the
injured
back
with this
for
and
like
this,
the longest of time.
Exactly.
And then it's like some other body part. It's like it's nothing consistent. So that's why people are just clowning him for not even playing because it doesn't even seem like a real injury because you're not being upfront with what's going on. There definitely is something. I'm not saying he's 100% healthy and just doesn't want to play, but
yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I think it's. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's as simple as black and white an issue to just say, oh, it's all this or all that. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're kind of playing amateur psychologist for a guy we've never met in our lives, so it's it's a little bit hard. But I mean, like, but that's why we're here. We're here to speculate and stuff.
You guys want to go through the Western Conference?
Yeah, let's
we
talk
done
about
with
the
our
West.
New York basketball.
I think we're good. You guys want to touch on anything else?
Not particularly,
Yeah.
no. But no, honestly, that was a good shout, though, for Budenhauser earlier.
Yeah.
Did I say his name right?
Budenholzer, yeah.
Budenholzer.
Oh, I have one more thing I
Yeah.
gotta say.
Yeah, go ahead.
So since they started their podcast, Jalen and Josh,
Mhm.
I think they're 1-5.
Yeah,
So I don't know about you guys, but I'm really against all of these athletes
absolutely.
starting podcast. I mean, some of them are very deserving of
So-
it.
Some of them are good.
Some
I
of
like the
them-
Jeff Teague one.
And look at me, I'm just like a random
Yeah.
guy. But you know what I mean? I feel like we're seeing it so much now.
Draymond started this.
Draymond.
Yeah, with him and his stupid podcast where he does his complain about everything. Like he complained about his suspension, which was well deserved. But yeah, all these player podcasts, like, okay, I get it. You play 82 games a year, a full season. I don't need to hear your opinion of every little thing that happens with your team and everything else around the league, like, once a week.
There's a lot of them that are
could do
interesting.
it. Yeah.
There's-
There's interesting ways to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I like JJ Redick's podcast because he actually knows how to break down the game, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I like former players having podcasts. I don't know about current players. That's my thing.
I kind of agree with Sean. I don't know. I don't think there's anything like morally wrong
There's
with
nothing
it.
wrong with it. It
But,
just
like,
doesn't for it.
It could. I think it could. It's just like, I don't know. You could end up just. I want to look at. I don't want to bring up too much pain from football season, but look at Micah Parsons. You know, he
Yeah.
talked so much smack on his pod, and I feel like you're
I
just.
I can't watch it anymore.
Yeah, because you're just giving motivation to your opponents.
Th-
And, like,
there is a good way to go about it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Travis Kelce's and Jason Kelsey, their
I love-
podcast
yeah,
is really
their
good.
podcast is great.
Yeah.
I just think that for some guys, I think some guys just can't handle it emotionally.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because I could imagine how frustrating it is. You log on the Twitter, you see a bunch of people making assumptions about
Right.
you, but some things just are meant to remain behind closed doors. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I think it's best to deal with issues internally.
I don't think if I was an athlete, I'd be able to have a Twitter or anything like
Mm.
that. Because I'm the type of person to just read every single comment. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
You'd be like KD,
Yeah, I probably would.
just a
Um,
burner
Make a
account.
bunch of burner
But I'm
accounts
glad
and
you
five
brought that
people.
up because I actually don't mind that the burner account was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But the fact that he responds to fans and kind of talks a little crap with them, I don't really
I
mind
don't-
that.
I don't mi-
I
I
find
don't-
it, yeah.
I don't mind it. He just does it too excessively. That's the thing. If it's a
Too
time
much.
to time thing, but he does it way too constantly, it gets annoying. It's like, dude, it's someone behind a paywall. It's someone behind a screen. So we'll just have to. I don't know, man. But yeah. So, all right. So we're back on. This is the end of YouTube hours, and now we're back onto the show.
Okay.
All right. So.
All right, so let's talk about the West because it's
Yeah.
a lot. The race in the West is a lot tighter than I'd say the East right now. We have the Timberwolves at first. You got the Thunder right behind him with the same record actually, both 40-17. I'm not gonna lie to you though, I haven't been paying as close attention to this race. But it's clear that if you lose like one game now, you can go from second to fifth, and it's kind of crazy. But every team, this playoff run is going to be awesome. I mean, there are so many teams that I can see, overperforming. Like the Nuggets are in my opinion still the favorites to come out of the West.
Yeah.
But I can like with the way that the Wolves are playing, the Thunder. The Clippers have completely turned it around from what we saw like really early with the James Harden trade. Obviously the Suns, the talent that they had, they have, and it's going to be really interesting what happens with the West come playoff time.
It's I'm not gonna lie. I like the Thunder more than I like the Timberwolves because I feel like I believe in them more. Because yes, they're a very young team. SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, they have a really nice group of young talent. But I feel like with Minnesota, right? Great regular season, 40-17, better than anyone could have expected. But I don't trust them come playoff time. And it's too young, and I don't trust Cat to be that guy in the playoffs that could carry the team to like throughout games. With getting the guys through tough times during playoffs. Like I don't trust Cat to be that guy to be like, all right, guys, this is what we need to do this and this and this to win the game. And is too young, but I really like where this Timberwolves team is going. I feel like it's kind of shut down the talk of that Gobert trade being bad, which it is, but it's just the Timberwolves team has been too good.
I don't know if Ant is too young. I mean, I feel like he's shown his ability to lead this team. I don't know if if their ceiling is the NBA Finals, but I could definitely see them like going on a little bit of a run and even making the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that's out of the question.
Yeah.
You're only too young until you do it.
Right.
Yeah. It's gonna suck whoever has to play. Because I feel like the bottom of the West too. If you still have to play the Warriors in the first round,
Yeah.
and I
The
know the Warriors,
Mavericks.
the Luke in the first round, the Warriors in the first round, it's still tough.
Even the Lakers
Yeah.
aren't that great, but
But it's still LeBron and AD,
Yeah. still, like you wouldn't want to see LeBron and AD in the first round. That's
Yeah.
tough.
Or even like the Suns, like KD and Booker for a series could just go off.
Right.
Each have like 30 plus each game.
There's a couple teams here at the bottom of the playoff picture, I should say, not the bottom of the West, that like, over an 82 game season, maybe they're not very good, but if you just, if you just put their backs against the wall, they've got shooters and they've got scorers who can just, totally flip a series on its head.
You looking at the Warriors?
I'm looking at the Warriors. I'm looking at the Mavericks. I mean, with the Warriors, there's just kind of one guy who can do that. And that's
Yeah.
Steph. But
I'm
I was
never
more so
doubting.
talking about the Mavericks. With
the
Luka,
Mavericks,
Kyrie.
Yeah.
The teams
Right.
like the Warriors and the Heat, I feel like that their regular season record doesn't matter to me anymore right now.
Yeah.
Because
They've proven it.
yeah,
Mhm.
remember last season that first round series, the Kings and Warriors. I was very completely convinced that the Kings were going to win that series, and the same with the Heat on the other side. I did not have them doing anything.
Yeah. No one, because they played the Bucks the first round. And it's like, oh yeah, they're just going to beat the Heat maybe 5, maybe 6 games, and then the Heat just
Yeah.
completely.
But if you have the right coaching, if you have the superstar who always shows up come playoff time, I'm talking Steph Curry, I'm talking Jimmy Butler. I don't know. I value that over a regular season record.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you guys? Because I feel like you're looking at these standings right with the West.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the Kings before, so you just mentioned them. I feel like the team that really sticks out like a sore thumb sort of is the Pelicans, where it's like I like them as a team. Zion's been relatively healthy this season; he's played pretty good. So is Brandon Ingram, but they don't feel like that a playoff team to me.
They're missing a
Yeah,
piece or
they're
something
missing-
like that.
They're missing something that really makes like a playoff team next level.
Hmm.
Like I think both I think the Thunder handled them easily in the series.
The Thunder.
Yeah.
But
But
that's if that would be if the regular season ended today.
yes.
Yeah.
Just the
Okay.
2-7 going off the 2-7 matchup right now. Yep.
I believe we already made these predictions, but as it stands right now, post all season All-Star break, who do you have coming out of the East and West?
Nuggets and Celtics.
Nuggets and Celtics.
Nuggets and Celtics. Yep.
Yeah. I wish I could say something different, but yeah.
It's that. By the way, I don't know if you guys watched that game last night against the Warriors. Nuggets Warriors.
Mm.
Jokic.
No, I didn't.
Jokic just proved why he's the best player in the league and why when it matters most, why you should trust the Nuggets, because this is all great for like the top of the West to be all close. We got to get to the Clippers too, actually.
Mm.
But the Thunder are young, I could see them winning a round, maybe 2, but they'll definitely get to the second round. The Timberwolves, same thing. No one expected them to be here. Ant is the superstar. Ant should be their number 1 option going forward. And then you have the Clippers, who, lost 6 games in a row after trading for James Harden, but have since really turned their season around and are 4th. What do you guys think of the Clippers? You guys think they could make a noise?
The Clippers are interesting, but because for years we're like, this team is so good on paper,
Yeah.
but they just
It's every
cannot
year the
stay
same
healthy.
thing.
They cannot stay healthy at all, and I think Kawhi was asked about that, and he's like, well, this year I don't have a torn,
Uh-huh.
whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I'm healthy this year.
Yeah, which is kind of, if they're healthy, why not? I mean,
Right, yeah.
it's an incredible roster, and
Mhm.
Ty Lue is a great coach. I'm gonna say that I think they're gonna come out of the West.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I have them in the Celtics.
Interesting. That would be a really good finals. That would be
Mhm.
a very interesting finals. I like this Clipper team. I think they're playing really well. Harden, Paul George, Kawhi. I think they have the most depth in the league. You have a guy like Westbrook coming off the bench, Norman Powell, who could get you threes. I really like their center rotation too. Zubats plays a little bit. Plumlee, Tice gets minutes here and there. I just feel like this is the most well balanced team in the league.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have like sleeper candidates to come out of the East or the West?
I was kind of gonna say the Clippers for mine in the
Clippers.
West, and
Okay.
for the East, I don't really know if it's a sleeper, but if the Bucks get their stuff together, which I don't know, the Doc Rivers is their coach, so I'm not really holding out hope. I would not hold my breath on that, but look, we're talking about how bad the Bucks have been, how how they're in trouble and stuff. They're in third in the East. And so if that's
I know, right?
if that's bad for them,
That's bad.
if they just get a little bit better,
But Oscar, I feel like it's more so bad that they're already 8.5 games behind the
Yeah,
Celtics.
no,
That's more so what it is than them being third.
More so, I'm just talking about more the context of the playoffs. It's not impossible that Dame and Giannis just come to life, and those are two of the best players in league history. Just let them if they come to life. I think they can beat anyone. But
I think in the East, I don't really see them winning, right? Maybe even the first round matchup. I'm really intrigued to see what the Pacers are going to do.
The Pacers?
Yeah.
I think it's a little too early for them.
Because
They have that OKC feel from
Right.
last year, where they're going to make some noise early, but then
You think it just fizzles out?
a little bit.
Yeah.
But next season, I think that might be the season where they kind of explode a little bit.
Because if it's like, let's say there's a world in where the first round matchup is them and Philly,
Them in Philly.
and Embiid's not back,
Oh yeah.
you know?
I mean,
I don't know. I feel like even them and the Knicks are not going to have an easy time against.
I think the that probably won't happen because the Sixers are going to slide a little bit.
Yeah, and the Pacers aren't going to go up or anything.
Yeah, they'll probably play around the same. Depending on their strength of schedule, they'll probably be around the same spot.
Yeah.
Who are your sleepers?
The Pacers and honestly the Magic.
Wow.
I'm not saying.
Oh,
when
to come out of the East?
No. When I say, you meant to come out the East.
Yeah.
The Cavs.
I wouldn't call them a sleeper.
No.
No, I'd say
maybe they're in second.
yeah.
What about the Heat?
That was my pick.
Yeah.
I was gonna go
God.
Heat.
Oh. If I have to sit through another series of them just bowling the Celtics. Okay.
I wouldn't take it out of the realm of
No,
possibility.
I won't either because Jimmy Butler's gonna come back like a madman,
He
and
always
just completely
does.
torch us.
And then what about the West? I think the Suns could be
The
really
Sun- yeah.
interesting.
The Suns are not a team you want to see in the series.
The Kings
Uh-huh.
got that playoff experience last year, so maybe they make a little bit more noise.
You know what it is with the Kings?
Yeah.
Everyone around them got better, and they
Mhm.
stayed the same.
Okay.
That's what happened, I think. And I think the beam, that whole, everyone rooting for the Kings has kind of died down to the point now where it's like, yeah, the Kings are still good, but there's all these teams better than them. Like, I think the Suns are better now. Even though the Suns are. So I'll say the Kings are the sixth best team in the West.
Okay.
If
Are you just saying that because of Book and KD?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean,
In
I
the
trust
series,
them.
I'd rather pick the Suns over the Kings in the 7-game series.
Yeah,
I don't
I
trust
agree
I
with
don't
that.
trust the Suns either because Beal never plays. Basically, he plays for 1 week and then misses a month.
No, that team has like very little depth and is way too achy
Yeah.
breaky for me to ever take them seriously as title contenders.
Okay.
I also think the Nuggets are not going to want to finish first.
They're not
I
gonna-
don't think they care about that anymore because they're coming off that championship last year, and
That was kind of their attitude last year too. They kind of like that.
they coasted like that last month.
Yeah, and that essentially costed him the MVP.
Which honestly they didn't even care about probably
Right now.
because he just won the finals MVP and won a ring.
By the way, what do you? A lot of people criticize Jokic for having that like nonchalant, doesn't give a crap attitude. You know what I mean? Do you guys really care about that or not so much?
Not so much honestly.
Not at all.
He's a winner.
Yeah.
He's able to do it when it matters. Better than Embiid, who basically sucks to say but injured himself last season just to win an MVP award because he won it. He was hobbled going into that playoffs. He wasn't healthy when they were playing the Celtics last year in the second round. I don't know. To me, it's just like Jokic just doesn't care, and I know people are like, "Oh well, he doesn't care about the game, this and that." Well, yeah, but he's still successful.
I also just think like I don't know, man. It's just this passion merchant culture we have where it's just like I don't care if the player on my team is yelling and punching his chest. Like, are you good? like, I don't know, bro. There's so many players out there who we give so much, who are just crap, who we give credit to because they have passion and play with heart. Like, who cares? And I like, also, like, with Jokic, most of these players, like, I don't know, a lot of the criticism I see about that is just people who are angry that they're not pro athletes. I'm like, sorry, man, like, most of us aren't. A lot of us wanted to be when we were little kids, too, but, like, most of us aren't. And, like, you know, and like it or not, yeah, like, Jokic, he openly says that basketball is not his favorite sport. He likes horse racing better, but, like,
Loves the horses,
yeah, but he came from, you know, I'm pretty sure he grew up, like, really poor and stuff, and he was like, I'm talented at this. This is how I can make my money and change my family's fortune for generations to come. So, you know, it's a job. It's his job.
And when they, you know,
He looks at it as a job. You're right.
Yeah.
More so than his passion. Yeah.
and it was not like he's completely ungrateful. Like you saw last year when he won the championship. It's not like he was like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah, and, like, I don't know, no one ever, I don't think I've ever seen any teammates of his say he's, like, not cool or anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone likes him. Also, I don't know, that's one of the reasons, actually, that him after winning the finals last year made me like him, like, a lot more than I already did. Because I was like, damn, he's just like me. Because he was like, I don't want to go to the parade. And then, like, he did go to the parade and he had a fun time, which is just like me sometimes.
There you
Yeah. Quick question before we wrap up the show for today. Do you guys think there's any world where the playoff seeding breaks out well for them, that the Warriors can make the conference finals?
They got Steph Curry, man. You know,
Yeah.
anything could happen.
I would not say so.
No.
I mean, I need to see Clay play a lot better, but I think that's kind of in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. You can't win maybe you could win a first round series, but you're not going to have a deep playoff run relying, you know, having your whole team just be carried by one guy. Granted, that guy is the greatest shooter in NBA history, so I guess nothing is out of the equation. But I severely doubt it.
Yeah.
I think that dynasty is coming to a close, but it's one hell of a dynasty. You know?
It definitely is. I wouldn't want to see them in the first round matchup though.
I mean, you never want to play against Steph,
Yeah.
man. He can, you know who he is.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Well, before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to the Brooklyn College ladies team for winning the basketball finals.
Absolutely.
Big for
How
CUNY.
about that? Round of applause. There we go.
We're, our
4 in a
ladies
row?
are- yeah, 4 in a row.
4 in a
Queens
row.
of CUNY.
Yeah.
Don't ever forget that.
Very good team.
Me and Sean were there. Front row and center. Yeah. That was a fun game too.
Yeah.
It got heated, but then I don't know. After a while, as usual, we just dumped on them.
Very, very good game. Congrats to them.
Yes.
And
School spirit.
and finally, we're back on a regular Monday schedule for the show. It's been a while,
Hallelujah.
but we're finally back on a regular Monday schedule going
Missed some
forward.
important shows, like the
Yeah.
Super Bowl show. But
Yeah.
you know what? We're back. That's what
Yeah, we're back.
You gotta roll with the punches.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you guys for watching. See you next week.